Welcome back to That's BS with me, Brian Sprague, episode 6. Let's get into it. I hope everybody had a good weekend. I know I did. Like I was telling you, I went camping with some of my buddies I grew up with. We go the same time every year, and last weekend was that weekend. And man, do I have some stories to share with you. I'm not going to share all of them. I'll probably do some on Thursday as well, but I'll do some of the highlights here on Tuesday, and then like I said, I'll get into some more on Thursday. But first thing I wanted to talk about is a little bit of a sport highlight from this past weekend because a lot of great stuff, at least that I watched, went on. First off, the Seahawks getting that big dub against the Cowboys, 3-0. So I'm pretty excited about that. Russell Wilson absolutely tearing it up, which is awesome. I mean, he threw 5 touchdowns, should have been 6, but I won't get into that. But I think it's an NFL record of 14 touchdowns in the first 3 games, well, passing touchdowns, which is awesome. I mean, Russell Wilson's finally getting that credit he deserves, which is great. And, always love to see that Seahawks win. As we were watching it coming home from camping, my buddies and I were like, I'd always take a Seahawks win over a fantasy dub. So always happy to see that and just keep things rolling. Our offense is looking great. And shout outs to the Rook getting his first sack in big crunch time in the fourth quarter. So that was pretty awesome. The other bit of sports news that I was real excited about was UFC 253. Huge Israel Adesanya fan, and Paulo Costa is probably my second favorite fighter. Number one being Israel, and yeah, we're on a first name basis. And it was a great fight for Israel Adesanya, that's for sure. If anybody watched it, he absolutely dismantled him. It's great because it's kind of a David and Goliath kind of story, and I think somebody in the boxing world actually made a comment about that post-fight because Israel is such a small body type versus Paulo Costa, who is a savage. And usually he dominates fights with his, savagery and absolute brutal punches, but Israel just dismantled him. And it was awesome to see because I don't usually like guys that shit talk. And I'm kind of like an undercover huge UFC fan. But, I don't really like guys that shit talk or are cocky or anything like that. Like I said before, it was weird watching Russell Wilson kind of get this new bravado this season. But, with Israel, he's always running his mouth, but he walks the walk and talks the talk, and that's awesome to see. Big fan of his, not only for his fighting skills. I mean, the guy is an absolutely insane, like, savant striker. Like, he is incredible to watch, especially this last fight where he dismantled him in 2 rounds, and just the way he lands kicks, oh my gosh, his knee was disgusting. I know when he fought Yoel Romero, his last fight, people were like, oh, that was a boring fight, this, that, and the other. Yoel Romero is another one of those guys who just uses brute force in fights. But the way that he just kicked his knee and just chopped that tree down and his leg swelled up, it was disgusting. But same thing to Paulo Costa. He just dismantled him. And I love how Paulo Costa talked all this shit leading up to it, talking about how he's a white belt, made all these stupid skits and did all this other dumb shit. And then he fucking got dismantled. And by the way, both any dudes who fight or train to fight would whoop my ass, so I'm not trying to say that I would do any better, but it's just funny to me when guys like that get their comeuppance for sure. And also, I think it's funny, I was checking out Paulo Costa's Instagram, and it still says he's 13-0, hasn't changed his record. As well, he keeps saying, I need a rematch immediately. The fight happened on Saturday night. Like, I need a rematch immediately, blah, 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 all this stuff. It's like, bro, just eat your humble pie, realize that you lost to a better fighter, and then when you get your shot at a rematch, great. But until then, maybe focus more on training in the gym instead of, trying to create gyms for TikTok and all that dumb shit. But all the dumb shit that he did, because he definitely didn't have his head focused on that fight, and it was clear to see the way that Israel just kind of dismantled him so handedly. But yeah, those are my 2 sports highlights. My wife always says when I talk about sports, I lose her. So I don't know if that's something that you guys are interested in, but I definitely love sports, and especially if it's something that the UFC is something that people are interested in, or, football. I'm going to keep talking about those things until you guys tell me, you're not interested. But those are kind of my 2 exciting sports highlights from this weekend. On channel-related news, real excited. I forgot to set a goal on Thursday because I know that the last week I set more, what's the word? I set a loftier, let's say that. I set a loftier goal for subscribers over the weekend, and I hit that goal last week. This week I didn't or last Thursday, which I think was the 24th. I didn't set a goal coming into Tuesday, today, at least when this show is going to air on Tuesday. I didn't set a goal for subscriber count, but I did see a small increase of 3 subscribers, so that was nice. So shout outs to the new subscribers. I appreciate the love. My goal probably I want to set before like going into 2021 would be a total of 500 subscribers. Would be really, really cool. I got a couple months to do that, and I always say really, really cool. So maybe I can make a meme of myself in the future, but 500 subscribers would be awesome. Loftier goal would be 1,000. And then if I could get a total of 2,500 total channel views by then, that would be pretty stellar as well. Not pretty cool, but stellar. I'm currently at, I think, 544. Yeah, 544 channel views. So it's pretty cool to see the small increases that I've made. But I'm going to keep cracking at this. And if you guys have any advice for me, or if there's things that you like, please like the videos and comment below, so I can continue to create the content that you guys are interested in watching. So now to the camping portion of the podcast. It was a great trip. Shout out to all the boys. It was a real good time. Definitely was a great break from all the craziness going on, and I missed all of them, and it was really fun way to kind of recharge our batteries. Even though the Friday that we were down camping, it fucking poured down rain. I know I was saying before that it's supposed to rain the whole time. Unfortunately, it did rain here and there kind of every day, but it absolutely fucking torrential downpoured on Friday. It was so bad that, on tents you have the tarp that goes over the top where the mesh to cover the mesh. Well, I'm assuming that you camp, but if you don't camp, with a tent, there is an additional tarp that goes over it to where if it does rain, it covers the mesh portions that make it, breathable, but it doesn't cover them to where it gets all kind of musty and sweaty in the tent. But it was raining so bad that the tarp couldn't handle the sheer volume of rain, and I fortunately wedged myself in the middle of the tent where all of these mesh areas were, so I was waking up every single hour, just feeling like I was the celery or the lettuce at the grocery market, where it'll do the thunderstorm and then mist everybody, but these were like solid raindrops hitting me in the face. So that was a fun experience. But then we wised up the next throughout the day of Friday, and we brought a shit ton of tarps, which was really smart. One of the tarps was absolutely massive, so we just folded it a couple hot dog and hamburger styles until it fit perfectly over the 8-person tent we had, and then we anchored it down to the actual anchors that were holding the tent, the stakes, holding it into the ground, and that made it awesome. But then it also made it a fucking sweat box. So that was a new challenge that we had. But hey, at least we were dry from the elements, but not dry from how like steamy and musty it got in there. But the rain pretty much subsided Friday, so we were able to kind of air it out, and that was great. But it was definitely better than getting dumped on all night, not being able to sleep. One of the great things about this trip is all of us grew up together through middle school and beyond, so we get together and we dumb ourselves down to where we're like middle school kids again. So we always play stupid games, not like truth or dare, but pretty close, like would you rathers, or how much money would you have to be paid to do XYZ. And some of the best ones were on our ride down there, which it was 5 of us packed into, 5 grown men, mind you, packed into, and me being broad-shouldered and big-boned, packed into our buddy's 2019 Tacoma TRD 4x4 truck. So it was a little snug to say the least. But he has a dash cam, and all the shit we were saying was absolutely fucking hysterical. And I was telling him, I was like, we need this. You need to send this to me so I can put it on my podcast. But I guess on the way back, it re-recorded over it, so we lost all of it. But I wrote down when we got there some of the really good ones, and here's my favorite one by far on the ride down. So we were really pumping the gas at this point of these questions of would you rathers or how much would you have to be paid to do XYZ. And the one that we had came to was how much would you have to be paid to have a porno with you gone viral, but you have your face blurred out. So there's nothing distinguished. Like I have a tattoo on my shoulder, so that would be something distinguishable to me. But we clarified that any distinguishing features of you would be, edited out or whatnot, and your face would be blurred out, so it wouldn't get out there to like employers or whatever. Blah 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 blah. How much would you have to pay to do that? And one of my buddies goes, without skipping a beat, like the second whoever, I think it was me, asked the question. Goes, I don't even really care how much I get paid. My only concern is that could you blur out my dick instead of my face? And we just bust out laughing. And it was absolutely hysterical because if you know this guy, that is some shit he would say, and it was fucking hilarious. And we had asked a bunch of wild shit before then, so it was just really funny. We could not stop laughing for the longest time. And he was like, fuck, you could honestly get me a $5 footlong from Subway and blur out my dick, and I would be fully content. So that was probably the funniest one that we did. And like I said, we had it all of it recorded, but it got recorded over for the ride back, so... I don't have any of the audios, but I tried to keep down a lot of the funny ones. But then what made the conversation completely shift is the question following after. We all of our laughing subsided, and we just kind of were quiet in the car for a little bit, just catching our breath after laughing so hard. And then one of my buddies goes, "Okay, no, this one's really morbid. Never mind." And then I go, "No, man, you can't just get us all riled up like that. You got to say it." And he goes, "Okay, fine. How much would you have to pay to kill a kid?" And then we all just got silent and kind of looked over. And then the same guy who said the blurred dick part goes, "You got to get paid for that?" And then we just started dying laughing again. It was just absolutely perfect. Maybe you had to be there, but we were just laughing so hard. It was a great car ride, and it was the most uncomfortable car ride I've been in a really long time. So it definitely broke up the stress, not stress, but it definitely broke up the pain of the ride on the way down, just dying laughing about just the dumbest shit ever. And like I said, we really dumb ourselves down when we're together to a very immature level. We like to claim that we're adults, but when we're all together, we're just a bunch of fucking idiots. So that was a really fun car ride for sure. Oh, one of the other funny things I remembered was we were just talking about, for some reason, because we were going camping like Survival Instincts or whatnot, or I think, what's the show called? Alone? I think the show Alone came up, the one where they drop people out in the wilderness and they see how long they can survive. They get 10 items or something. I just said, I don't know what the show is, and I just started naming off pretty much everything with the premise of the show, but I think that's what it's titled. I've never actually seen it, but we were talking about it for 30 minutes on the car ride. But we were just laughing, we eventually stumbled upon discussing Bear Grylls and how it's so funny, all the weird shit that he does, or the joke that kind of everyone knows, oh, better drink my own piss kind of thing. And then we started talking about how, I heard after, you drink your piss twice, it's no longer hydrating you. So what do you do when you have no more piss to drink? And then we just started laughing about all the wild shit that Bear Grylls does. One of the things we reference is, one of the guys was saying he watched an episode of Bear Grylls, and he found some eggs. I forget what it was from. And he ate one of the eggs raw, just right there. Which, if you've ever seen any of his shows, he's just real savage about it. He'll catch a frog and then rip its head off and be like, "Oh man, I finally have 12 calories to keep me moving forward." But he finds these eggs and he eats one. And he goes, "Now I have enough energy to cook these other 3," which is the dumbest shit ever. You found these eggs. I understand that you may be exhausted or pretending you're exhausted, but you got to shove some of them in your mouth and eat them raw to be like, "Oh, oh, now I have enough energy to cook these ones. That just makes no fucking sense to me. Again, I'm not the best person to get it stranded in the wild with, but I just thought it was fucking hilarious. And we all kind of decided that Bear Grylls was probably that kid growing up that would go up to the lunch table and just have something fucking weird and be like, "You dare me to eat this?" So back to more camping stories, not so much the car ride. One of the craziest things happened was on the Saturday we were there. So we always go camping near a beach, and we always try to spend the nicest day out on the beach playing spike ball, cooking on the beach, playing football, you name it. What we did this year, because there's so many different fire bans, is we didn't really get to cook on the beach except for with I think the regulation was like a valve controlled flame. So like a camping stove or a jet boil or whatever. So we ended up cooking brats down there on a camping stove, and we spent like the whole day down there having a great time. And we always take like a cute group photo when the sun sets with like kind of us, the photo of the sun setting behind us. So it's just kind of like our silhouettes, which is really cool. And then we do one where we turn around to where we use that kind of light exposure to take a picture of all of us together. So we can send it to our prospective wives, girlfriends, fiancés, side pieces, the whole nine. So after we did that, we kind of we brought a hand cart this year, which you ever go to the beach with a bunch of people and you bring a bunch of soda pops and cooking, like a camping stove and whatnot, I highly recommend you bring a cart. That was super nice this year instead of having to haul everything down and back. So once we got back to relatively close to the campsite, we had to use flashlights and whatnot because it was the sun was pretty much set, but it got pretty dark. So once we're almost there, we see that there's like a ton of different flashlight going over our tents and our campsite, and we were like, holy shit, what's going on? Somebody trying to break in, or did we get in trouble for some reason? We were trying to figure out what was going on. And then when we got back to our campsite, it was a bunch of the park rangers, and they were like, hey, are you guys okay? And we were like, yeah. What's going on? And then I realized they had like 3 or 4 different chainsaws, and they had told us that a tree had fallen on our campsite, but it fell actually on our canopy that was covering, our picnic table and a lot of the food and different coolers and things like that. But they ended up having to cut it up into little pieces because it was like a 75-foot tall tree. Mind you, the diameter of this tree was probably like 8 to 10 inches, so it wasn't the biggest tree, but it's still a fucking tree, and it fell right through the middle of our campsite. Fortunately, there wasn't any damage done. Excuse me, gotta drink some of the best water in the game. My voice is a little hoarse from having too much fun this weekend. Core Water, subtle plug, not sponsored, but this is the best water in the game. Excuse me. But anywho, they had cut up the tree for us, and we're like, hey, if there's any damage to the canopy, I know that the tree fell on it, but if there's any damage, like, let us know when you take it down, and then we'll look out for you. So shout outs to those park rangers for doing us a solid. But that was a trip, and we were like, holy shit, what if we were here? Like, that's so crazy. And this was at 7:30, 8 o'clock at night. Fast forward to about 12 o'clock at night when we were about to go to bed and we were just chilling by the campfire. Everyone was pretty sleepy, almost about to put out the fire and hit the hay. And then we hear a loud snap, like a tree's falling. And I've never seen any of us run any faster. We just fucking bolted every possible way. All 8 of us just scattered. And then another tree of equal size, about 75 feet, and 8 to 10 inches in diameter, fell down about 30 feet from our tent. And so that just answered the age-old tale. If a tree falls in the forest, do you hear it? Yes, you fucking hear it twice within a span of 5 hours, and it's fucking terrifying when you have to go to sleep and it's your last night camping. So that was pretty crazy. And then the next morning when we woke up, unfortunately, no other trees fell that we were aware of, at least, or affected us. But when we woke up the next morning, and we were packing up the truck, we noticed a third tree had fallen, but it had only fallen like 15 degrees, so very little, and a larger tree. Like if the large tree that caught this equal sized tree as the other 2 that had fallen, we would be all devastated. But it caught the third tree that had fell, And if that one would have fallen, it would have absolutely obliterated our buddy's brand new truck. So that was kind of wild. But we think the reason why the trees fell is because it pissed rain so hard that the ground was so saturated. Because in the Northwest, if you live here, you know that when it rains, it fucking pours. And I think that's where that saying came from, because it absolutely dumped that Friday. We went our first full day at the campsite. And it's kind of like a marsh behind our specific site that we go to every year. So I think that the ground was just so saturated, just uprooted those trees, no problem. But fortunately, none of us died, and we all made it home safely. So that was pretty good. I must say, the one thing I really took for granted on this camping trip was Charmin Ultra Plush toilet paper. Again, not sponsored, just plug for the daily essential. It was single-ply toilet paper at the campsite public bathroom or whatnot. And it was the worst. One of the guys was saying, yeah, with one-ply toilet paper, you know you're done wiping when it's just blood, which was fucking foul, and also a sad reality for a lot of us. So we went to Walmart to get some food for the camping stoves and things like that, and none of them had ever used like Preparation H butt wipes or whatever for when you're like camping, or you get like chafing or a rash or anything from shit toilet paper. So I had bought a pack of that, and when we went back to the camp, it's like everyone scattered for like 10-15 minutes because everyone was like trying them out and was like, oh my god, why didn't we get this the first day? And so that was really funny. So I'm glad that, you know, I opened 7 people's eyes this weekend to the amazing benefits of medicated butt wipes. You are welcome for the life-changing information. All in all, it was an absolutely great trip. It was definitely a great way to break up the monotony of everything going on right now, kind of being stuck at home, really bored. Fortunately, we're all healthy to my understanding. My voice is a little hoarse just because of the laughing, the staying up all night, you know, all the debauchery that we got into. But it was super duper fun, and shout outs to all the boys. Thanks for making it a great weekend. I had an absolute blast. I'm definitely glad to be back home. Another camping pro tip is don't buy a shitty foam pad or whatnot for sleeping on the ground for, 3-4 nights or whatnot. I brought 2, and I was going to give one to somebody else as like a, hey, here's a solid if you forgot one, but fuck that. I slept on 2, and it still felt like I was sleeping on a stone tablet like a fucking vampire. So, and I think I just said fucking, but I meant to say fucking. That wasn't a vampire pun. Yeah, I definitely am going to invest in an air mattress for the future, or a much better sleeping pad. But I think all of us now are in a relationship. We're either married, engaged, or have a steady relationship, at least at the time of this video. So I think what we kind of all mutually decided after almost getting murdered by 2 trees and getting absolutely pissed on rain-wise is to do a couples trip next year, like a nice beach cabin or something like that. And then the one rule that I said we have to make is that we all have to be just as debaucherous and delinquent as we are with the 8 of us together with our significant others, and see how many relationships last weekend. Fortunately, 2 of us at the timing of this video are married, so if our wives wanted to leave us, then there was a lot of paperwork involved, and I think that I'm safe. She also listens to this podcast. My wife, at least, listens to this podcast, and every time I go on these trips, I literally tell her everything that goes on that's hilarious and inappropriate, and she married me. So I think I'm in the clear. Can't speak for the other guys, but she knew what she was getting into before she said I do. You know what they say, better or worse. So that was a great weekend. I'm excited for next year already. But I think this is where I'm going to wrap up the podcast. I know I've talked about doing a couple segments, or the cologne one. I think the before COVID, and then now one I think I want to do once I start getting more engagement. You guys aren't really engaging with me in the comments, which is really upsetting, and it makes me sad. Shout outs to you, Jacob, for always putting me on blast for my mistakes. I appreciate that. Keeps me on my toes. I think I was a little bit better this time. I'm sure you'll let me know in the comments, because you're the only one that does. But I would love to get some more engagement so we can kind of have some fun with this platform. I think based on this weekend and all the like would you rathers or how much money would you need to do XYZ, I think that'd be really fun to do. And then if you comment and yours is really funny, or even if I get one comment, I can share it on the next episode of the podcast as well. And I know I said I was going to end it, but in hopes to alleviate instead of add to the problem, I think I'm going to end it with before COVID. And the one that I'm thinking of this week is that I took for granted the small and or shorter or quicker grocery store lines before shit hit the fan. And what I mean for that is, perfect example, Mercedes and I were at Walmart before I went on the camping trip to get her some food because, as her direct quote would be, is how am I supposed to feed myself without you here? So we're not, dependent on one another at all. But we were at Walmart and the lines were so fucking long because they have to do the social distancing and they do the separations for customers on the floor, and they also do like aisles in between each other. And I think there was only like 2 or 3 lines that were open when we were there. So it was a fucking shit show, and it was like 15 deep per line, and we had a cart full because I didn't really realize it. This is pretty stupid too. Our grocery store has the same has the same shit as Walmart, but is double the price. So we walked out of Walmart spending like $260, but if we would have done that at our local Hagen's, it would have been like $450, which is crazy. But anywho, we had a choice between the self-checkout, which is bullshit, or for especially with that many items, or what they have at Walmart, and I don't know if anywhere else has this, I haven't seen it before, is the scan and go, which is, it's like you're your own cashier to where you can put it on the conveyor belt and whatnot, all your shit, and then you can bag it up to where it's not like you have to do everything like one at a time at a self-checkout. So we elected to go with that, and I didn't realize how stressful the job is of a cashier and or bag person. Like, there was no one in line behind us, but we had so much shit. I was like freaking out and having a panic attack that I wasn't moving fast enough. So that was definitely a huge stress. And then it made me just realize how much I took for granted accessible cashiers, baggers, and short lines at the grocery store. And with that, I do promise you this time I am ending the episode. Like I said, I wanted to go over some of the camping stuff and not burn it all out this first episode. There's a lot of good stuff to share. I'm just got to run it by the editor-in-chief, a.k.a. Mercedes, to see if it is podcast approved, and then I'll go into some more details about some funny stuff. I think the next episode is going to be a little bit more elegant. If you know, you know. But it's going to be a good week, I hope. First week back from vacation. I feel kind of motivated, which has been nice. And I'm rambling when I just told you twice how I was going to end it. So I'm going to end it right here. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. I will talk to you guys Thursday. And let's set a goal of getting to 45 subscribers. So that's 3 more subscribers before this Thursday. I think we can do it. I didn't set a goal for last week, but again, I really appreciate all the support. I hope you guys are enjoying this. Like, comment, subscribe. Notification bell, I think, is also a thing. But please feel free to engage with any of the stuff I'm saying. And if you like it, great. If you don't like it, fuck you. Yeah, for real, fuck you, though. But please let me know. I want to make this just as entertaining for you as it has been for me the last 6 episodes. So on that note, have a wonderful rest of your Tuesday, and I will see you Thursday. Peace.